There is a tool that the most effective professionals use consistently and almost never discuss. Not because it is complicated, not because it requires special access or unusual intelligence, because talking about it reduces its effectiveness. And the people who use it well understand that. It is restraint, specifically the strategic use of silence, timing, and deliberate withholding as an offensive rather than defensive position. Most people experience restraints as something they endure, something they practice when they want to react but choose not to, a form of self-control that costs effort. The professionals who use it well experience it completely differently. For them, restraint is not what they hold back, it is what they deploy. The reason this tool stays hidden is simple. Quiet is almost universally misread. In most professional environments, the people who speak most are assumed to be the most engaged. The people who push hardest are assumed to be most committed. The people who fill the room are assumed to hold the most authority. Quiet professionals, those who listen more than they speak, who move less frequently but more deliberately, who hold their position without announcing it, are routinely underestimated. And here is the thing that most of them eventually discover. The underestimation is not a problem to fix. It is the advantage itself. When others assume you are passive, they reveal more. They negotiate less carefully. They apply pressure where it does not land. They make assumptions that are consistently wrong. The misreading creates space, and in that space, a great deal can be built quietly, deliberately, and without interference. So here is the reframe that changes how this works in practice. Restraint is not a defensive posture. It is an offensive one. When most people think of restraint, they think of holding back, of not saying something, not reacting, not moving. A kind of control absence, something you do to avoid a mistake. That framing keeps restraint in supporting role. It makes a check on behavior rather than a behavior in itself. The more accurate framing in this, restraint is a positioning tool. It determines what information you release and when. It controls what others know about your thinking, your intention, and your next move. It governs the timing of your action in a way that creates maximum leverage. Used this way, restraint is not the absence of something. It is the presence of something specifically. The presence of strategic control over what you reveal, when you move, and how much space you give others to expose themselves before you do. That is not passive. That is amongst the most active things a professional can do in high-stakes environment. The first way restraint functions as an offensive tool is through information asymmetry. Silence collects information. Noise gives away. When you speak, when you explain, your reasoning defends your position. Fill the gap in the conversation. You are transferring information to the other side. Sometimes that transfer is necessary, often it is not. And experienced professionals in any field know that the person with less information usually makes the worst decision. Quiet professionals understand this instinctively. They ask more than they answer. They listen longer before they respond. They let conversations develop past the point where most people would have jumped in. And by that point, they know significantly more than the person who spoke first. This is not passivity. This is intelligence gathering conducted in plain sight. The person across the table thinks the conversation is progressing naturally. The quiet professional is reading every signal, what the other person emphasizes, what they avoid, what they apply pressure, where they concede without realizing it. By the time the quiet professional speaks, they are not entering the conversation. They are concluding it on terms they already understood before the other person did. The second way restraint functions offensively is by protecting position. Every time you explain your thinking before it is necessary, you give others the opportunity to engage with it, to push back, to reframe it, to introduce doubts before your position has fully formed. Loud professionals do this constantly. They share ideas early, solicit feedback broadly, and build their thinking in public. There is value in that approach in the right context, but it also means their position is always slightly vulnerable, always mid-formation, always open to interference. Quiet professionals keep their thinking internally longer. They do not share a position until it is ready. They do not invite challenge until they have already stress tested the idea themselves. By the time they speak, they are not proposing, they are presenting a conclusion that has already survived scrutiny. That is a structurally different position to be in. The person who speaks first is defending something incomplete. The person who speaks last is often defending something that does not need defense, because it is already clearly right and everyone in the room has already arrived there without realizing the quiet professional led them. The third and most powerful dimension of restraint is timing. Timing is what transforms silence and position protection from passive disciplines into active leverage. It is the deployment mechanism, the point at which everything held in reserve becomes decisive. Most professionals move when they feel ready. Quiet professionals move when the moment is right, and those are not always the same thing. Feeling ready is an internal state. It is about your own confidence and preparation. The moment being right is an external condition. It is about the environment, the other parties, the accumulation of signals that indicate maximum leverage for minimum effort. Restraint is what makes it possible to wait for that external condition rather than acting on the internal one. It is what keeps options open when others have already committed. It is what allows the quiet professional to be the last to move, and therefore the one who moves with the most information, the least resistance, and the clearest path. Timing held in place by restraint is not luck. It is the natural result of more. The moment is genuinely right, and the patience to wait for that moment is itself a compounding skill, one that gets more powerful every time it is exercised. So here is what we have covered. 3 dimensions of restraint used offensively. Silence as information gathering, position protection as structural advantage, and timing as the deployment mechanism that makes both of those things decisive. Together, these are not separate techniques. They are one integrated approach, a way of operating in professional environments that consistently produces better outcomes than the louder alternative. And here is what makes it genuinely powerful. It does not require confrontation, performance, or the energy that comes with maintaining a loud position. It requires patience, observation, and the discipline to act at the right moment rather than the first available one. Most people will not develop this, not because they cannot, but because the environment rewards noise and they follow that signal. The quiet professionals who do develop it finds themselves over time in fundamentally different position. Not because they fought for it, because they waited for it and moved when others could not. If we covered today resonated, if you recognize this approach in how you already operate or in how you want to, there is a free resource in the description below, built for professionals like you. It is a starting point. Practical, calm, and built for people who prefer to build quietly rather than loudly. The link is below. Take your time getting there. After all, you already know that moving at the right moment matters more than moving first.